I'm calling into session the March 25th, 2025 Liquor Board hearing. There are no minutes from the last one, so we're going to just proceed. Mr. Hurdle, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Abraham Hurdle, counsel to the board. At the beginning of every meeting, council makes a few brief announcements. First, the commissioners are part-time public servants, and they have other outside interests. When they know they have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest, they recuse themselves. They cannot possibly know who will appear before from the public in any given matter which may present a conflict of interest to them. If anybody believes that any commissioner has a conflict of interest in any matter, you have to announce that to us as the case is called, and the commissioner or commissioners, as the case may be, will deal with that accordingly. If not, then the commissioners will proceed with all hearings under the assumption that there is no conflict of interest. Secondly, the rules of the board provide that the chair, for the purpose of administrative and judicial economy, can have the board's counsel, myself, rule on the admissibility of evidence and objections if there are counsel present and objections are made. The board handles many cases at every hearing, and this assignment allows us to expedite the hearings. So rather than the chairman turning to me and me advising the chairman, I'll simply make a ruling. My ruling will be that of the chair. As you know, renewals are in session and they're due Monday. Otherwise, there is a late fee. Please make sure to get them in timely.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdle. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A bit of housekeeping first. The case for ANMD Associates LLC, trading as Doubletree Hotel, has been postponed from tonight's hearing to a future hearing to be determined. And our first case of the evening is for Klaus Liquor, Ish LLC, Paresh Patel, President, Secretary, Treasurer, Juan Antonio Sutton, Clerk, Detective Middleton, badge number 1061, Detective Cepeda, badge number 1239, Inspector Scott Harmon. This is a Class D tavern, beer, wine, liquor, music, entertainment, restricted Sunday license. Located at 604 Crane Highway North, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. The restriction is as follows: as of 5/1/2016, entertainment restricted to multiple TVs only. As of 2/12/2002, that all employees who handle alcoholic beverages must be certified in a state-approved alcohol awareness course within 30 days of hire. The violations are as follows. 1, violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 4, Section 4.01A, minors, regarding Anne Arundel County Police Report number 24-742436, Detective Middleton, badge number 1061, and Detective Cepeda, badge number 1239, incident date November 21st, 2024. 2, violation of the Alcoholic Beverages and Cannabis Article, Annotated Code of Maryland, Title 6, Section 6-304, selling or providing alcoholic beverages to individual under the age of 21 years, regarding Anne Arundel County Police Report number 24-742436 by Detective Middleton, badge number 1061, and Detective Cepeda, badge number 1239, incident date November 21st, 2024. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please come forward to the table, remain standing, and if you could, raise your right hand for me. Thank you very much. Do you solemnly swear and affirm, under the penalty of perjury, that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And Detective Middleton, if we could begin with you.
Detective Thomas Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, Western District.
Detective Charles Cepeda, Anne Arundel County Police, also Western District.
Paresh Patel, Klaus Liquors, 2413 Pebblebrook Court, Davison, River, Maryland.
Juan Sutton. Address 4404 Old Frederick Road, Baltimore, Maryland, 21229.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Hurdle.
Detectives?
Good evening. On November 21st of 2024, approximately 7:10 hours, Detective Middleton and myself were conducting alcohol compliance checks within the county. We directed a confidential source, 19 years of age, to enter the Klaus Liquor Establishment, which is located at 604 Crane Highway in Glen Burnie, Maryland. We observed the confidential source enter the business. The confidential source then went into the store, picked out a 12-pack of Busch beer, and took it to the counter. The clerk, we observed the clerk did not ask the confidential source for identification. The confidential source was given official Anne Arundel County funds and was able to purchase the Busch beer from the clerk. Confidential source then exited the business and immediately turned over the alcoholic beverages to myself and Detective Middleton. We know through our training, knowledge, and experience that Busch beer is an alcoholic beverage. Once that was ascertained, myself and Detective Middleton then entered the establishment, identified ourselves as police officers and identify the clerk as Juan Anito Sutton, who's seated at my left on the defense counsel. The clerk advised that he was alcohol awareness trained and advised of the violation by myself and Detective Middleton. Photograph was then taken of the clerk and the alcoholic beverage. The Anne Arundel County liquor license was properly displayed inside the business. The licensee, Harish Patel, was not on scene. A photograph was then taken of the alcoholic beverage and subsequently destroyed. The clerk was cooperative and the store was busy at the time during the sale. A copy of this report was then forwarded to the liquor board. All events occurred in Arundel County. This case is closed.
Mr. Patel, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Mr. Chairman?
Just want to go over a couple things. Detective, your report says that the clerk was cooperative.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And that the clerk is the gentleman seated here, Juan Antonio Sutton?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions for the detective.
Commissioners, any questions? Mr. Patel?
Yes, good evening, Commissioners, Legal Counsel, and Chief Inspector. In 2006, I acquired Claus Liquors and understood the seriousness of the business. This is the first violation since 2006, serving a minor by Mr. Juan Sutton. Mr. Sutton was on manager's agreement and alcohol awareness certified. By signing the manager's agreement, he did conform to all laws and regulations relating to the business. Mr. Sutton has since resigned from employment effective February 27th. I understand that North Anne Arundel County, especially Glen Burnie area, have been more frequent compliance checks of certain class licensees. So on a weekly basis, I do review the business protocol, being first priority of checking ID under 30. I have posted signs to remind customers to have ID, which most customers do comply with the request. I've been very proactive in making sure staff understands the personal and business liability of serving a minor upon hiring. I have done my due diligence in making sure that I operate the business within the rules and regulations according to the alcohol license. It's unfortunate that Mr. Sutton didn't follow the business protocol and failed the compliance check. I do request the board to combine the two violation codes into one, as it has been granted by the board in the past hearings. I was given an option to pay the fine or have a hearing. I chose to have a hearing because I wanted to assure the liquor board that this establishment is not a trouble spot of serving a minor. Over the years, this establishment has had multiple compliance checks and have passed. April 2022 was the last one. I've made attempts to gather some information, but the data was incomplete. And Corporal Middleton sent me an email this afternoon to advise me that there was a compliance check in April of 2022 that was passed, and the one that recently was not. I appreciate your time and welcome any questions the board has.
Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Patel. And it's my understanding that Mr. Sutton is no longer employed there. Is that what you said?
Yes, he resigned end of January, and 27th was his last day.
Okay, all right. And you're right, you do have a very good record since 2006. And you have been, I believe, compliance checked before, and I think the first time is when you had mentioned that you talked to the detective about it, and that was a pass. So that's congratulations, that's good. Unfortunately, the fact that alcohol was sold to a minor it's a pretty grievous offense, when it comes to alcohol in our youth today. And I don't have any further questions for you at this time, so I'm going to go ahead and pass to the commissioners.
Commissioners?
I have no question.
Okay, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion. And I understand at the last hearing there was some cases where several of the offenses were merged. I'm sorry. Can you move forward, Michelle? Thank you.
I'm short. I
That's
get it.
okay. It wasn't you. But it's not my view to merge charges unless there's really extenuating circumstances. And I think I've done it once since I've been sitting in the chair. But what I'm going to do, because it's your first offense, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we fine you the minimum of $500 for both charges, a total of $1,000 plus the cost. And I do appreciate the fact that you've had a good record, and hopefully, this will go for quite a while. And if you go with for a term of approximately 5 years without any further alcohol compliance violations like this, that won't be held against you. So the next time, if it's 7 years from now or 8 years, you come in front of the board, it will be as if it's the first time.
I
Okay?
don't plan to come in front of the board.
Well, good. And hopefully we won't see you. Anyway, my motion is a $500 fine in both offenses plus costs. Looking for a second.
I second the motion.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Patel. Lots of luck in the future. Sir, I hope you found gainful employment, and lots of luck to you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yep, have a good day.
Thank you, gentlemen. Our next case is Northway Liquors, Inc.
We'll waive reading.
Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please do approach the table, remain standing, and raise your right hands. If you could please remain standing and raise your right hands for me. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Detective Middleton?
Detective Tom Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, Western District.
Detective Charles Cepeda, Anne Arundel County Police, Western District.
And good evening, Brian Lyman, L-Y-M-A-N, on behalf of the licensees. You have to say your name.
Name and address for the
Owner of North Liquor, Dharmendra Patel. Address 7707 Lexington Court, Glen Burnie, Maryland 21061.
Sanjay Kumar 602 Old State Road, Glen Burnie, MD 21061.
Chetan Patel and 6908 Montgomery Road, Elkridge, Maryland 21075.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. On November 21st of 2024, approximately 8:10 hours or 8:10 p.m., Detective Middleton and I were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol compliance checks within the county at retail business establishments. We directed a confidential source, 19 years of age, to enter the Northway Liquors, which is located at 8101 Veterans Highway in Millersville. That's in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We both observed the confidential source enter the business. The confidential source went into the store, picked out a 12-pack of Modelo beer, and took it to the front counter. The clerk did not ask the confidential source for identification. The confidential source was given official Anne Arundel County funds prior to entering the establishment, and which was they were able to purchase the Modelo beer from the clerk. The confidential source then exited the business and immediately turned over the alcoholic beverage to myself and Detective Middleton. We know through our training, knowledge, and experience that Modelo beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Middleton and myself then entered the establishment, identified ourselves as police officers, and identified the clerk as Samjay Kamali. The clerk advised that he was not alcohol awareness trained. He was advised of the violation. A photograph was taken of the clerk, Kumari, and the Anne Arundel County liquor license was properly displayed inside the establishment. The manager was also at the front counter and identified as Chetan Patel, who advised he was on the manager's agreement. Photograph was taken of the Modelo beer, and then it was subsequently destroyed. The clerk was cooperative, and the store was busy at the time of the sale. A copy of this report was then forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. All events occurred in Anne Arundel County.
Lyman, do you have any questions?
Nothing. But actually, I apologize. When you say the store was busy, can you give a description of what that means or what caused you to write that in the report?
I would say more than 2 or 3 at the time.
2 or 3 whats?
Persons.
Customers in the store?
Yes.
Okay.
Potential customers.
Also, the clerk indicated that he was not alcohol awareness trained.
Yes.
I don't have any further questions. Mr. Chairman?
I have no questions for the detective. Thank you.
Commissioners?
I have no question.
Mr. Lyman?
Thank you. We'll proceed, I think, mainly by proffer and offer the board only an explanation. The sale of alcohol to a minor occurred in this instance. The licensee is seated to my left, Dharmendra Patel. This is the 3rd violation since he was granted the license in 2019 for underage service. I'm not sure exactly what the miscommunication was, but the clerk was in fact alcohol awareness trained. I do have a copy of his tip certification to hand up to the board. It's photocopied over top of a copy of his ID, his passport from India. I don't know if that impacts the board's ruling or decision here at all, but it does potentially highlight an issue with exchange of information between the officers. Additionally, we're here on a violation for cooperation that was frankly in part my oversight in properly informing my client to ensure that Mr. Chetan Patel had been summoned here. I didn't realize he had been summoned as the manager. He was not crucial to the interaction that committed the underage sale, although he was supposed to have been supervising the employee, Mr. Kumar, at the time. As you heard from the officers, the store was busy. That's more of an explanation as opposed to an excuse. Mr. Patel takes his obligations and duties seriously, and he does realize that it's a privilege before the board to continue to serve alcohol. He has disciplined Mr. Kumar and advised the staff that they really need to make sure that they are carding and using the system that's in place to check IDs. In this case, the clerk did override the ID check system that's built into the point of sale, and we don't have a good explanation for why that happened. Mr. Patel has redoubled his efforts, and all I can tell you is that this has been a reliable staff for him, and he chose not to take any formal discipline necessarily, aside from adjusting some hours for Mr. Kumar, which impacted his pay. Other than that, Mr. Patel does operate a bar at this establishment as well in the back of the house, and I believe that there haven't been any compliance issues at the bar. A mistake happened here, and their licensee, Mr. Patel, takes his obligation seriously and hopes not to be in front of this board again through his appropriate management of his staff and explaining to the gentleman who, these 2 gentlemen primarily staff the store for most of the hours that it's open. And they messed up, and they understand that there'll be a penalty from the board, and we asked the board to consider a fair penalty for the cooperation charge. We were here ready to present, other than having the manager seated in a chair here at this table at the last hearing. So with that, I just offer to Mr. Patel anything else he wants to add to my presentation.
So yeah, I did cut down his hour, and he work only one day a week. So I told him we take serious job here. And next day from the incident, I told him we're not going to give you enough hour. So he also looking for some job other places. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Lyman?
That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members.
Okay, thank you. I have, I guess, a couple questions just to make sure I understand the circumstances completely. The day of this incident, the last incident, the licensee, Mr. Patel, was not in the store at that time, correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
I was away to pick up my daughter from school for only 1.5 hours. And I was on my way and I hear the call. I say, oh my God. Because I'm normally 12 hours a day at the store.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And the reason I was even asking that is I just wanted to make sure I understood that you weren't on the premises at the time, but the gentlemen who were on the management agreement,
Yes,
which is, of course, the proper way to do it, were. Of course, being on a manager's agreement, you also have to be aware of the alcohol awareness training and take the courses and so forth.
yes.
I have quite a few concerns here. Number one, of course, is, as Mr. Lyman mentioned, this is the third offense in a relatively short amount of time since May 17th of 2021. This is the third time. And I know you're an extremely busy business, but that should be just another reason to be more observant and more alert than perhaps your employees were on that day. You also have delivery privileges, correct?
So we did have it, but we misunderstood the delivery options. Like when I had my license, I asked, I think so, Mr. Eddy, like we can not able to use the third-party driver or anything. So we never use third-party driver. But the first week of my delivery, I was delivering myself, and I got a call from I forgot, Mr. John or somebody from police department. They say you cannot use the platform like DoorDash or Uber. So we shut off their program right away in
Okay,
1
so-
week.
so
So
there
we
is
don't
no-
we don't use any other platform. Yeah.
Okay, well, that does clarify one thing for me.
Yes.
And I understand that both Mr. Kumar and Mr. Patel were in the store at the time of the sale.
Yes.
Were you relatively close to each other? Location-wise, were you 5 feet, 10 feet, or?
Maybe like around 4 or 5 feet.
Okay. So we had two employees there that didn't catch, didn't make the proper notification as to who was buying alcohol. All right. I have no further questions at this time.
I have no question.
I have no questions.
Okay.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Thank you for the honesty and everything that came forth at this particular hearing. Like I say, I am quite put aside by the fact that this is the third offense in a relatively short period of time. We cannot allow alcohol to be given to, sold to, or traded to anybody underage. We have enough problems as it is without adding that to it. With that being said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick to the standard that we've been using as a guideline here. And I'm going to make a motion that we find you guilty. First of all, on the cooperation, we're going to find you guilty because you did fail to show with a $100 penalty for that. As far as the other two charges, minors and under 21, because it's the third offense, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a motion that we find $1,500 per charge. That's $1,500 per charge, a total of $3,000 there. Now, I'm also going to do one other thing, and this may be a moot point, but the fact that you have delivery privileges on your license, I'm going to suspend those delivery privileges because my concern, and I think the concern of a lot of people, is if you have a difficult time checking licenses and IDs and checking people in the store, what's happening when you're not in the store and you're sending a delivery person. So I'm going to go ahead. You do have that privilege, but I'm going to make a motion that we suspend that for a period of 3 years. At the end of that 3 years, if you're more than welcome to come back in front of the board and request it, but not for a period of 36 months. That's my motion. Looking for a second.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So be it. Thank you very much. Lots of luck in the future, gentlemen.
Sorry,
Please,
Mr. Chairman.
please be careful.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners.
Good night, Mr. Lyman.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Our next case is Edgewater Liquors, Inc., Edgewater Liquors, Inc., Richard Spees, President, Karen Acosta, Secretary, Michael Andrew Higdon, Clerk, Detective Middleton, badge number 1061. Detective Mountcastle, badge number 1155. Inspector Vin Pelletier. This is a Class A packaged goods, beer, wine, liquor, beer, wine tasting Sunday license delivery. This is located at 54 Central Avenue, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037. The license is not restricted. The violations are as follows. 1, violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 4, Section 4.01A, minors, regarding Anne Arundel County Police Report Number 25-702637 by Detective Middleton, badge number 1067, and Detective Mountcastle, badge number 1155. Incident date, January 25th, 2025. 2, violation of alcoholic beverages and cannabis article, annotated Code of Maryland, Title 6, Section 6-304, selling or providing alcoholic beverages to individuals under the age of 21 years, regarding Anne Arundel County Police Report Number 25-702637 by Detective Middleton, badge number 1061, and Detective Mountcastle, badge number 1155. Incident date, January 25th, 2025. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table, remain standing, and if you could, please raise your right hands for me. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And detectives, we can begin with you.
Detective Mountcastle, Anne Arundel County Police.
Detective Middleton, Western District, Anne Arundel County Police.
Ma'am.
Karen Acosta, I'm sorry,
Address.
3505 McAfish Lane, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Thank you.
Michael Higdon, 3600 Evelyn Jingle Avenue, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we missing somebody?
Yes, I had made a request to
Mr. Spies? Is that right, Mr. Spies?
My
Is that
brother, Richard Spees.
Spies? I'm sorry. I apologize. And yes, we did get it, and I did approve it, so
Okay.
my apologies. All right, very good. Thank you. Proceed, please.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police. This incident was January 25th of this year, 2025, at approximately 10 o'clock in the morning. Detective Mountcastle and I were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks of retail businesses. We directed a confidential source, 19 years age, subject to enter the Edgewater Liquors, located at 54 West Central Avenue in Edgewater, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We observed the confidential source enter the business. The CS went into the store, picked out a 6-pack of Milwaukee's Best Ice Beer, took it to the front counter. The clerk did not ask the CS for identification. The CS was given official Anne Arundel County funds, was able to purchase the Milwaukee's Best Ice Beer from the clerk. The CS exited this business, immediately turned over the alcoholic beverages to us. I know through my training, knowledge, and experience that Milwaukee's Best Ice Beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Mountcastle and I entered the store, identified ourselves as police officers, and identified the clerk as Mr. Michael Higdon, who's seated to the left of the table. The clerk advised that he was on the manager's agreement and was alcohol awareness trained. Higdon advised that he had been working at the store for approximately 8 years. He was advised of the violation. Mr. Higdon stated, "I know I made a mistake. I should have carded him." And just a note in the report, so we observed Mr. Higdon walk out of the store immediately after making the sale and looking in the parking lot for the CS. I think he realized at that time that he had made a mistake. The photograph was taken of Mr. Higdon. Anne Arundel County liquor license was properly hanging on the wall. And a photograph was taken of the Milwaukee's Best Ice Beer, and then it was subsequently destroyed. The clerk was cooperative. The store was not busy at the time of the sale, and a copy of this report was forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. That would be my statement of facts.
Mr. Costa, do you have any questions of the detective?
No, I just want to point out that Mr. Higdon did realize that he'd made a mistake and went out to try and correct it.
Mr. Chairman, any questions of the detectives?
That was going to be my question. So it's the detective's testimony that the clerk did come out the door, I would imagine, assuming or looking for the person that had just made the purchase.
Correct.
Okay, I do have a question for that gentleman. What were you planning on doing when you went outside?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I just kind of
I'm sorry.
I don't know what I was going to do, but
I appreciate your honesty,
Yeah.
but I also appreciate the fact that you went out the door. 8 years you've been there, so you're tenured, plus you've been trained, and I'm sure you've been watched over very carefully. This is the second violation, though, in less than 5 years, and you've heard me say it before. You know, we take this very serious. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, well, no, I have no further questions. I'm sorry. I almost forgot the commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, commissioners, any questions?
No question.
See, I knew that. Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion in this case, and I'm going to make a motion that you be found guilty of the two charges, minors and underage, because you in fact did make the sale and they did walk out the door. You also have delivery privileges. And you heard what I did in the last case.
Yes, sir.
And I'm seriously considering doing it again, but because of the efforts of Mr. Higdon there, or at least a good try on his part, I do want to take that into consideration. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and stick to the standards for a second offense within 5 years, which is a $1,000 fine for each of the two charges, a total of $2,000. I'm not going to go ahead and remove your delivery privileges if you can assure me that you're going to
Yes,
pay special attention to
Mr.
that.
Higdon doesn't do the deliveries. My two sons work there, and they do the deliveries, or another gentleman in the business does the deliveries. Out of our 15 employees, 14 have their tip certificates, and I have found a class in April 17th for our 15th employee, and Mr. Higdon has agreed that he will go to that too. And several other people are going to recertify themselves.
Okay. Anyway, my motion then is a fine of $1,000 in each of the two cases plus cost, and we're going to leave the delivery intact. Please be careful.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
That's a motion. Looking for a second?
I second the motion.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Consider it done. Lots of luck.
thank you.
And Mr. Higdon, good try.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much. Our next case is Maryland Wine and Spirits, Maryland Wine and Spirits LLC. Wing Chung member, Joseph Bernstein clerk, Detective Middleton, badge number 1061, Detective Mountcastle, badge number 1155, Inspector John Maloney. This is a Class A packaged goods beer, wine, liquor, beer, wine tasting Sunday license located at 5736 Deal Churchton Road in Deal, Maryland, 20751. The violations are as follows. 1, violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County. Chapter 4, Section 4.01A, minors, regarding Anne Arundel County Police Report number 25-702643 by Detective Middleton, badge number 1067, and Detective Mountcastle, badge number 1155. Incident date, January 25th, 2025. 2, violation of the Alcoholic Beverages and Cannabis Article, Annotated Code of Maryland, Title 6, Section 6-304, selling or providing alcoholic beverages to individuals under the age of 21 years, regarding Anne Arundel County Police Report number 25-702643 by Detective Middleton, badge number 1061, and Detective Mountcastle, badge number 1155. Incident date, January 25th, 2025. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table, remain standing, and if you could, sir, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And Detective Mountcastle.
Detective Mountcastle?
Excuse me, Detective. Before you go any further, is Joseph Bernstein here?
Well, I tried to contact him, but I haven't heard it from him. I couldn't get hold of him, so he's not here today.
He was summoned, and that summons was signed for.
Yeah, I contacted the liquor board, couldn't find him, and someone told me.
Mr. Aronson.
I'm not aware of that.
was given?
We sent an email to, I forgot who. And, he replied to us, he is excused from coming, and I couldn't find it.
Voicemail.
Give us 1 second, sir.
Okay, thank you.
It was about the postponement. It wasn't
That's all right, Mr. Aronson. I think we're gonna go ahead and proceed without him if you want to.
Yes, sir.
Now, under normal circumstances, I would postpone this case. We would reschedule it, and we would be charging somebody with cooperation, you meaning. But because of some of the confusion involved, we're gonna go ahead and pass on that.
Yes, sir, thank you.
So if you want to proceed, we can go ahead and proceed without Mr. Bernstein.
Okay. I want to let you bring your attention that,
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Detectives?
I'm sorry, yes, if we could begin with your name and address for the record, that's okay.
Detective James Mountcastle, Anne Arundel County Police.
Thank you.
Detective Tom Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, Western.
And sir, finally.
okay.
And your name and address for the record. I'm
My
sorry.
name is Wayne Chung, 6108 Tracy Overlook Road, Tracy Landing, zip code 20751.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Detectives?
Detective James Mountcastle. On 1/25/25 at approximately 1200 hours, Detective Middleton and I were working Operation Save, conducting selective alcohol violation enforcement compliance checks at retail businesses. We directed a confidential source, 19 years of age, subject, to enter the Wine and Spirits, Maryland Wine and Spirits at 5738 Deal Churchton Road, Deal, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We observed the confidential source enter the business. Once inside the store, the confidential source picked out a six-pack of Dos Equis beer and took it to the front counter. The clerk did not ask the confidential source for identification. The confidential source had been given official Anne Arundel County funds and was able to purchase the beer from the clerk. The confidential source exited the business, immediately turned over the alcoholic beverages to myself and Detective Middleton. I know through my training, knowledge, experience that Dos Equis beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Middleton and I entered the store, identified ourselves as police, and identified the clerk as Joseph Bernstein, a date of birth of 12/29/49. He's not here at this time. Bernstein advised that he had been working at the store for approximately 10 years and was alcohol awareness trained. He was advised of the violation. The store manager-owner, Mr. Wing Chung, who was here, was also on scene and advised of the violation. Photos of Mr. Bernstein, Bernstein's Maryland driver's license, the Anne Arundel County liquor license, the beer, and the outside of business were taken. The beer was subsequently destroyed, and Mr. Bernstein and Mr. Chung were very cooperative. A copy of the report was forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. This case is closed.
Sir, do you have any questions?
Yes, I would like to point out that Joe Bernstein.
Sir, my apologies. Do you have any questions of the detectives?
Oh, no.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Commissioners?
No question.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would like to point out that Joe Bernstein was with our store since we opened the store back in 2013. This is his second violation, the same type of offenses in the past 4 years. And I regret I didn't do fire him back then, but because of the fact that he was with us for so long. And it happened, the last time happened was after the time after COVID, when people were wearing masks. So, but after the incident, I terminated his appointment immediately. And even though I repeatedly told him that to check the ID, all the people that, new to the store, you have to always check ID, the importance of it. But he didn't listen to me. And apparently it happened again. So to ensure it won't happen again, that's why I terminated his appointment. And also, me and my wife are now full-time with the store to involve the day-to-day operations, and also working a little bit on the register to ensure proper ID are being checked. And also, we put up more signage to tell customers have no ID ready when they come in for And also, we have put a stricter rule for all my employees and tell them, if you sell to minor, you will have an immediate dismissal. We don't care how long you have worked here, and it's just like everybody have your teamwork. And if I have penalty, and you guys have to be penalized too. Be fair to everybody. And I also have talked to a couple of my neighbors and friends. We're trying to set up that those parents have some children just over 21. Try to come to our store and we test out how our employee in front checking ID or not. If they fail, they have to be let go, and the new employee have to be set up. To moving forward, I hope I would like to thank you for the chairman and board member to give me an opportunity to come back here, and with your valuable time and understanding. And I hope you guys give me a second chance to fix this problem. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
Just a couple quick questions. Thank you for your honesty about it being the second offense. We are aware of it.
Yeah, we feel bad for it. I don't like it happen again. It happened to him, the same person, all the time we open the store. I feel really bad for it.
Okay. Sir, I believe you were in the building when this took place. Is that right?
Yes, I was in the back, and I heard something. I come back out, and I see the officer ask Joe Bernstein for ID. I said, what happened?
Okay. I have no further questions.
Commissioners?
No question.
Okay, well, thank you, sir, for your statement and your honesty about it being your second offense. We are aware of the one in November 22nd of 2021. As you've heard previously, we look at not just the case in front of us, but when it comes time for any kind of punitive action, we look at your past record. And you do have a single previous violation within the last 5 years. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we do find you guilty of the two charges with a $1,000 fine for each one of those charges plus cost. And that's my motion. Looking for a second.
Second.
I'll have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Lots of luck in the future, and I'm sure with you and your wife being there full time, you'll keep a closer eye on it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to move, thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it. We're going to move forward with, we're going to jump ahead just a little bit, then we're going to come back. We're jumping ahead to Bill's Liquor and Lounge. Bill's Liquor and Lounge, LLC. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table and remain standing.
I'm not going to move it, I promise. It's my crutch, though.
And if you could remain standing, please. Thank you. And raise your right hands for me. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Chairman, the record reflect Richard Bittner. I'm here with the current licensee, Bill Cheney. We're the sellers.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner. And ma'am, if we could start with your name and address for the record, please.
Indu Bhatia, 9311 Occoquan Overlook Drive, Lawton, VA 22079.
Thank you.
Joanne Starner, 5808 63rd Avenue, Riverdale, Maryland.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Linda Carter, and it's always a pleasure to be before you.
Thank you.
Ms. Carter?
Thank you. Good news, bad news. This is our third appearance before you. Unfortunately, that's the bad news. The good news is we're finally here to request the board approve the transfer application that's been filed. I will proffer for the board that all of the information contained in the application with the exception of the violations, is true and accurate as we appear before you tonight. As the board remembers, there were 2 prior violations. One was for merchandise being on the premises that had not been properly purchased from a licensed Maryland wholesaler. I think if the board will remember that incident, it was never intended to be sold. It was for personal consumption. It was removed from the trunk because of the value of the item. They were afraid, Indu's husband was afraid it would break because she had just had a bottle of red wine break in the back of her car. And in addition to the fine that was imposed by this board, the comptroller, ATCC rather, has refused to give back the merchandise in spite of a request. So at some point, it will be, I always wondered what they did with it. They will have a pallet auction, and this will become part of what's auctioned off, and some retailer will buy a pallet, not necessarily knowing what's in it, but with the approval of the state being able to sell it. Maybe we'll be lucky and we'll buy it, but probably not. The other violation, at least in my mind, was much more serious, and that was a sale to minor. And at the time we appeared in connection with that violation, we indicated to the board the things that my clients in particular were doing to make sure that there would not be any future violations. And as promised at that hearing, most significantly, at least from my mind, in the liquor store, if you don't have an ID that scans, you can't make a purchase. The system locks up and there is no override. So 100% carding, 100% of the time. They have also filed with this board multiple manager forms, and all of their licensees, all of their employees, while the board required they be certified within, I believe, 30 or 60 days of hire, they won't let anybody on the floor, either in the bar or the restaurant, or the bar or the liquor store, who is not already certified by a state-approved program. I think, from my perspective, and they've also, the other thing that they've done recently is they've hired a very experienced bar manager. Both ladies work in the store from time to time. It's not their full-time job, but they do appear, they are in the store. They're not on a regular schedule, so the employees don't know when to expect them. And their husbands also come in from time to time and are also working. So on any given day, probably one of them is there for at least an appearance to keep the employees in check, if you will. Mr. Chairman, I would suggest to the board that they are, in spite of the violations, fit and proper people to hold this alcoholic beverage license. And we're hoping that this is third time's the charm. This is the last time we will be before you until they're ready to sell, which is no time soon.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
This particular establishment has been in front of us quite a bit lately, for obvious reasons, but not for the transfer. And that's a good thing. I'm glad it's not in reference to the other ones. It's my understanding, though, with some of those previous offenses, that the licensees were, in fact, on the premises at the time that those took place. Am I correct in that or not?
No, Mr. Chairman. Neither of the applicants.
Neither of them were on the premises at the time of the
when
offense.
it occurred,
Okay.
and Mr. Tuning was also not present when they occurred.
Okay, poor assumption on my part, and I apologize. I guess I'm also concerned about the fact that you're not going to be there full-time, or at least one of you isn't going to be there full-time, that you're going to be in and out at your desire. It's difficult to control an establishment when you have somebody there full-time, and I think you've seen that tonight alone in the previous cases. Do you have a game plan other than just stopping in and the hiring of a new manager, a new experienced manager, I understand? Are there any camera systems set up that could be viewed from your outside locations?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure before I said there is a camera system that is accessible through the modern technology of the phone system. And the store manager has it as well as the applicants.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The store manager has it as well as the
Oh, okay.
applicants.
I have no further questions at this time.
Commissioners?
No question.
In reference to, excuse me. That's why he sits here. I'm going to make a motion, and I'm really having some struggles with this one because of the occurrences within the past 6 months, a year, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept this transfer. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to put this establishment on a probationary period of 24 months, which means that if you have any problems at all and you're brought back in front of this board, we're going to review the status of your license and circumstances. And I'm also going to make part of that motion, the restriction on there now says that all employees must be alcohol awareness trained within 60 days. I'm going to remove that 60 days, and all employees must be alcohol awareness trained before they go to work there.
We're doing that now, so that's
Okay,
fine, Mr.
so
Chairman.
no harm, no foul on that then.
And quite frankly, it makes it easier when we're hiring somebody. We tell them, you have to do this,
Okay,
period.
very good. Anyway, my motion is to go ahead and accept the transfer. Please don't make us regret this. That's my motion. Looking for a second.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, though, that still puts you on a 24-month probationary period starting now. Please be careful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time and consideration this
Okay,
evening.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next case is Dietrich's Tavern, Inc., Sarndeep Sarkaria, VP Operations. Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table and remain standing. And please remain standing and raise your right hand.
I do.
Jim Ford, Anne Arundel County Liquor Board, Chief Inspector.
Scott Harmon, Anne Arundel County Liquor Board Inspector.
Good evening again, Brian Lyman, Lyman, on behalf of the licensees.
Sarndeep Sarkaria, 8502 Calvert's Mill Way, Gainesville, Virginia, 20155.
Sarjeet Stellan, 7706 Hayden Drive, Hanover, Maryland, 21076.
Karamjeet Kalwan, 9320 Paul Drive, Manassas Park, Virginia, 20111.
Avtar Singh, 7346 East France Branch Road, Glenburnie, Maryland, 21060.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdle. Before I begin, prior to my statement of facts, I'd like to make a motion that my report and Inspector Harmon's report, which are attached as exhibits and which have also been provided to the licensee and licensee's counsel, be moved into evidence and become part of the record.
Hearsay only.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hurdle. The activity date for this violation was February 5th, 2025. The report date, same date. for Dietrich's Tavern located at 7346 East Furnace Branch Road, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21060. Pursuant to report number 3-12032024-1 submitted on December 3rd, 2024 by Inspector Scott Harmon, this inspector contacted the Anne Arundel County Department of Inspections and Permits to determine whether the alterations as described in Inspector Harmon's report had been approved and required permits obtained. Inspector John McQuaid of INP confirmed that all permits associated with this establishment had expired on January 24th, 2024. As a result of this information, this inspector visited the licensed establishment on February 5th, 2025, and met with board-approved manager Avtar Singh, who was identified by his Maryland State driver's license. During the meeting, Mr. Singh confirmed that alterations to the bar area designed to enlarge the storage area and diminish the bar area, photos are attached, had been performed approximately 3 months prior to my visit. As a result of these findings, violation notice number 1492 was issued with the following charges: 3.05 sanitation and safety for failure to operate the establishment in accordance with the building code of Anne Arundel County, 4.16 unauthorized conduct allowing the commission of an act contrary to the rules and regulations of the Board of Licensed Commissioners of Anne Arundel County, and 4.18 alterations, unauthorized alteration on the licensed premise. Mr. Singh was very friendly and very cooperative throughout my visit. This ends the report.
Mr. Lyman?
Thank you. Did you indicate that the permits expired in January?
Correct.
Okay. And the conduct that is alleged to have occurred happened 3 months before you issued the report, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell me what building code or sanitation and safety code is alleged to be violated?
I cannot.
Okay. There were.
I could get back to you on that, but no, not off the top of my head.
There were permits in place for the alterations, though. That you did confirm with the county, correct?
No, that's incorrect. So the only permit that I was made aware of were permits that had expired in January of 24.
Oh, in January of 24. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I misheard. And do you know what permits were required for the alterations?
I do not.
Okay. Do you have any witnesses here who do know what permits were required for the alteration of the bar and storage area?
I do not.
Okay. Does Mr. Harmon know that by any chance?
Not off. I will let Mr. Harmon speak for himself.
I do not.
Okay. And can you identify the unauthorized conduct that you're seeking a guilty verdict for under Rule 4.16?
Sure. Not being in compliance with the rules and regulations.
Okay, but that would be predicated on the violation of the alterations without permission, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Just trying to make sure that we've got one allegation as to changes to the premises without approval from the board. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions.
Thank you.
Chairman, any questions?
Chief Ford, did you check with the administration to see if there was permission given, written permission for any alterations or changes to be made at this establishment?
I did, and the answer was no.
The answer was no?
No.
Okay, thank you. Could somebody describe what they saw when they went in there? Perhaps the inspector can give us an observation as to what he observed when he went in as far as the alterations or changes.
When I walked in, I noticed that just to the right of the packaged goods side of the establishment, there was drywall dust on the floor. As I looked to the right, I also noticed that I saw a little bit of plastic. So I immediately went to the clerk that was at the register and asked if the manager was on duty, that I'd like to speak with him. While he went to get the manager, I went down towards the bar area and noticed that we had some new drywall work with plastic up, and that modifications to the way the bar layout was the last time I was there was changed.
Okay, thank you very much. I have no further questions at this time.
Commissioners?
May I ask of Mr. Harmon, in light of the chairman's question, that occurred on December 3rd, is that right?
Yes.
And you didn't issue a violation that date?
No,
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Why is that?
because I contacted my chief inspector to verify whether or not alterations had been approved. And at the same time, I talked to Mr. Avtar Singh and mentioned to him that if it hadn't been, he must get with his licensee and contact the board immediately to make sure. Because I was informed that the reason alterations were done is because there was a leak to the roof in the establishment above.
Okay. Was Mr. Singh cooperative on that visit in December?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both. I have no further questions at all.
Mr. Lyman?
I'm going to proceed by way of a proffer. My clients were a little overzealous in making some alterations to the layout in this establishment. Mr. Sarkaria is my main contact at Dietrich's Tavern, and the board may know that there is a transfer application pending. They're contract purchasers, and frankly, Mr. Sarkaria and the other licensees jumped the gun on trying to make some slight alterations to improve the customer experience and to get the layout in accordance with what the new contract purchaser desired. Unfortunately, they didn't consult with me because I would have certainly told them that alterations without permission from the board are verboten and prohibited. Nevertheless, I would ask the board to carefully look at the 3 charged violations here and to make discrete findings as to each if you are going to find guilt as to each. Frankly, I haven't heard any evidence that permits were actually required for the alterations that were made. Certainly, board permission is required to change the layout, but we've heard absolutely no testimony as to the requirement of any building permits or what have you to simply move an interior wall or change the arrangement of the layout of the establishment. I'll proffer to the board that there were no changes to the electrical layout or the plumbing that were require electrical or plumbing permits, and it was merely just shifting and building one wall or an L-shaped wall in order to make a storage area behind where the bar was. That was also a mistake as far as the judgment of the licensees, and for that, I've certainly explained to them the risk that they have suffered here. But I would ask the board to carefully look at what you've heard as far as evidence as to the sanitation and safety violation under Rule 3.05. That rule is designed in order to protect the public, and I don't think you've heard any evidence that there's any actual violation charged by Anne Arundel County for lack of a building permit for any of the work that was performed at the premises. Certainly, as part of the transfer application, should the board seek to approve that transfer application, we will be investigating a tenant improvement permit with the county. The non-residential tenant improvement permit is something that I believe the county has begun enforcing a little bit differently since I think October or November last year. And the board can be certain that any required building permits for any of the existing premises will be addressed at that point as part and parcel of the transfer application. Finally, let me just say as to the last violation, unauthorized conduct, there seems to be a bit of, 2 for 1 here on the charging by Chief Ford, and we have alterations that effectively my clients admit were undertaken without authorization from the board. But the unauthorized conduct seems to be sort of double dipping on the same factual circumstance. So I would ask the board to consider a violation, a guilty violation for charge 2, but to look and see if there is any specific unauthorized conduct aside from that same alteration issue that my clients are here to face in front of the board. It's also a bit of a pet peeve of mine that the board finds a violation for both the statute and for the board's rule on an underage service. However, there are 2 separate authorizing statutes that have both been violated in that case. In this case, I would proffer and argue to the board that we have only one issue here, which is the lack of obtaining the board's permission for alterations that's really been proven in front of the board based on the presentation by Chief Ford. With that, I'd ask if Mr. Sarkari or any of the licensees have anything to add to my presentation, we'd ask for the board for a fair consideration of the arguments given and the facts at issue.
Nothing further?
We're happy to answer any questions. As I said, I think that the licensees were a little overzealous in attempting to get the property in a shape that the contract purchaser was requesting it, and they made a mistake. And for that, they're here to answer for it and to have the board issue an appropriate punishment.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
I think I do. The first one is a little overzealous. Might not be the way I would describe it, but I'll accept that. The fact that you proceeded without the proper permits, if they were required, is one thing. But the fact that you proceeded without permission from the liquor board, that's a totally different story. And had you requested through the normal channels what you're required to request, we would have informed you at that time you need to check with inspections and permits, fire department, health department, planning and zoning, and all the appropriate departments, and they could have decided whether or not you needed permits from them or not, or permission or whatever. So one little step caused quite a few problems, and the results of those problems at this point is tonight's hearing. And then you have to worry about, I think we just recently received a request for permission. Is that correct, Mr. Aronson? You have a transfer application. Right. Okay, but we've never received a request for any of the alteration or work? That's correct. Well, I think before we consider the other issue, you're gonna need to make sure that you have everything that you're required to have from not just the liquor board, from all the appropriate county departments. And even if that means just to have them come out and do an inspection and say no permit is necessary or whatever, we just cannot allow an establishment to do what they want to do because they feel that's the best way to do it, or that they want to do it, or it's the best for timing purposes. We all need to follow those rules. So I have no further questions. Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioners, any questions?
No question.
I do have a question. When the pictures were taken on December 1st, was Dietrich's open?
Yes.
Operational?
Yes.
Bar open?
Not sure about the bar at that time. At that time, it's not a bar open.
Mm-hmm. Same day, not open. Same day.
In December.
No. The numbers under production, that time is off.
So
Close.
the bar was not open?
Not
at that
open.
time? So it was not open because they were doing some construction over there.
I'm sorry, could you get them to repeat that, please? I didn't.
Yep.
As I understand it, the bar was not open on the day that Mr. Harmon took the pictures in December. I think that was the indication from Mr. Singh, the manager.
And the reason the bar was not open?
The reason was the construction. It was not open
Oh,
due to
so-
the construction, whatever they were making the changes
When
Yeah.
did it reopen?
there. How long it took? 1 day?
1, 2, 3, 4 days.
3? So around like December 8th.
I have no further questions, commissioners. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Lyman?
I would ask and mention the licensee's prior violation history. We were here about 2 years ago for an argument over, I believe, offering drinks at the bar, which may have be something that Ms. Snoops, Commissioner Snoops' question prompted in my mind. And I just would point out that although we were charged with 4 violations that evening, The board did just find the one violation as opposed to 4 violations. So if the board is going to consider the violation history, I would just stress that we were issued 1 violation and not 4 2 years ago for the argument over whether the bar had to be open during the business hours. And Commissioner Snoops' question did prompt that history to flash to my mind that we were here fighting over that. And I believe that was when you were the chief inspector, Mr. Harris, and you presented those violations to the board. But the board did find that there was just the 1 violation on operation because the bar portion of the establishment was not open during business hours at those times. With that, certainly the licensees understand it and know that the board is in control of alterations, and permission has to be given prospectively, absolutely, for all the licensees, and they understand that there's a violation here and that they'll need to face a punishment. I don't disagree with the chairman's suggestion that all the necessary permits need to be applied for and put into place if any were required. I would just stress that we haven't heard that evidence tonight for the board to consider a violation of the sanitation and safety rule. So that's all.
No.
Thank you.
And I understand, Mr. Lyman. Thank you. Anything else, anybody? No, okay. I think you have some valid points, Mr. Bryan. I appreciate that, Mr. Lyman, rather. But at the same time, I think these charges are appropriate under the circumstances. So I'm going to make a motion that we find the licensees guilty of all 3, but I'm only going to make a motion that a fine of $250 per charge be levied. That's a total of $750. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that you understand that the proceeding without permission is going to do nothing but complicate things. My motion is for a fine of $250 per charge. I'm looking for a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one ancillary question about the renewal application. I don't know if these licensees have actually filed their renewal application yet or not. But if it hasn't been filed yet, then we do have a guilty finding here at the hearing, and they need to answer the questions correctly about the violation of the board's rules and regulations. Is the hearing date the date that's effective for the renewal questions, or is the date of the board's order that will be issued the effective date for the answer date of the questions? It's the violation date. Thank you, Mr. Aronson.
If I may, I will follow up with you, Mr. Lyman.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. I'll appreciate the indulgence.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next case is for Dash in 134 Inc.
Present, we'll wait.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please step forward. Remain standing, and if you could please raise your right hands. Thank you very much. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Bittner, if we could begin with you, name and address for the file, please, for the record.
Yes, good evening. Richard Bittner, Bittner, on behalf of the licensees.
Thank you. And sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Harmeet Rana, 103 Ponds Lane East, Woodbury, New York, 11797.
Thank you.
Deborah Edick, 102 4th Street, Lothian, Maryland, 20711.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bittner?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're here this evening to correct a clerical error when my clients filed to renew the license last year. Apparently someone forgot to check the late hours box. This establishment is, I think the board knows, has had late hours for decades. My first involvement with the license before it was Dash In was back in the 90s when it was Quick Mart, and it had late hours then. Mr. Hamid Rana has taken it over recently, last couple of years, and it was just a clerical error. Chief Inspector Ford, in a proper inspection, noted that. We filed to correct that error. There was a recent violation first that the establishment had suffered. They paid the fine so that this hearing could go forward. Ms. Edict is the qualifier, though she's also the daily manager. Mr. Rana, the 99% owner, is in the shop 4 to 5 times a week. So we'd ask that you approve the late hours. As I said, they've always enjoyed that privilege without any incident, without any issues. The application is true and correct. There have been no changes. Is that all correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, any questions?
It is my understanding also that you've had late hours before.
Yes.
And I don't see anything where you've had any difficulties during those late hours. Am I correct in saying that?
That is correct.
Okay. And the reason for wanting to stay open those late hours are?
Because traditionally we've been open since we've had the store. We've always been selling in the late hours.
The alcohol sales end at 12 midnight, and they lock everything up from 12 to 6 a.m., but the store's open 24 hours. It's on Route 50. It's a major convenience store, a gas station.
Very good. And that was the next place I was going, so thank you, Mr. Bittner. I have no further questions.
Commissioners?
No question.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Bittner, before I rule?
No, we ask you to approve the privilege.
Okay. I am going to make a motion that we do approve that privilege. And
Thank you, sir.
but please keep in mind, make sure your alcohol is locked up under lock and key during the restricted hours. That's a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So be it. Thank you, Mr. Bittner.
Thank
you.
Mr. Chairman, if please, on a point of indulgence, I have another case before you, and I'm coming from the dentist, and my Novocaine is wearing off.
Can you speak up, Mr. Bittner?
I'm sorry. Did it to me again. You're making me laugh. Got to stop that, Mr. Hurdle.
I'm going to, Mr. Bittner,
Thank you.
you got it.
This will be General House, if the board please.
Yes, please
No
call
problem.
General House.
House. I assume you're going to waive the reading, Mr.
Waive the
Bittner? Sir, if you could remain standing when you approach the table and raise your right hand, please. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
In a loud voice. Loud voice, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. You may be seated. And Mr. Bittner?
Thank you. Gives me pleasure to present to the board Mr. Wang, Ruen Wang. He is the applicant for this transfer, and I would move in the application at this time. There have been no changes.
Mr. Bittner, may we have Mr. Wang state his name and address for the
Oh, I'm
record,
sorry, I
please?
thought he
That's
did.
okay.
Okay. 908 and the same loop, St. Martin Loop, Central Park, and Maryland 21146.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Mr. Bittner, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I thought he's very low speaking voice. So I move in the application. There have been no changes to the application for this transfer of a Class H restaurant. Mr. Wang and his wife, Jenny, have been running the restaurant under a management agreement with the current licensee for about a year. They were employees with the current licensee. Chief cook, bottle washer, they do everything. They're on site 24/7, so to speak. His wife is there at the restaurant now. There's a management agreement in place filed with the board. There's no changes planned. It's a very successful restaurant in the Jumpers whole area of northern Anne Arundel County. No changes in the floor plan, the decor, the hours, the menu, the service. As I say, they've actually been operating under a management agreement for some months now, and we believe they're fit and proper persons. He's a fit and proper person. His wife is not part of the business management team, but she is, as I say, a manager. Everybody's alcohol awareness certified. There have been no violations of this license before the board. Mr. Wang is happy to answer any questions. Is everything I said true, sir? Is everything I said true?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
Just one question for Mr. Wang. Sir, do you have any involvement, financial involvement in any other establishments that sell alcohol in the state of Maryland?
Excuse me?
Mr. Bittner, if you want to, please.
Do you have any other businesses that sell alcohol?
No.
Okay, that answered the question. That's my only question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
No question.
Ask you approve the transfer.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bittner. With that, I'm going to make a motion that we do approve the transfer. Keep in mind, though, there is a restriction on this license, and that restriction remains intact. And that just says that all alcohol must be served in conjunction with a meal. And the only type of bar allowed would be that of a sushi bar. Okay? All right.
Yes, we're aware of that and may revisit that in the future.
Very good.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank
you
you
for your consideration.
Thank you.
I hope you feel
Thank you,
better,
gentlemen.
Mr. Bittner.
Thank you.
Okay, our next case is Curtis Bay Athletic Club. Curtis Bay Athletic Club, Inc.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Bittner, just a moment. Was there a second to the chairman's motion?
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't complete. So we needed a second. I'm looking for a second on that motion.
Second the motion.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night now.
Thank you. Thank you. There we go. Mr. Chairman, may I approach the chief for just 1 minute on a non-related matter?
Yes, you may. Wasn't me this time. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for indulging Mr. Bittner. I know what it is to come from a dentist and not feel like being here this time of night, so thank you.
Okay, so our next case is for Curtis Bay Athletic Club, which is Curtis Bay Athletic Club, Inc. James A. Goss, President, William A. Dowell, Financial Secretary, and John I. Coles, Sergeant at Arms. This is Inspector Buddy Marshall. This license is I apologize. It's a Class C club, beer, wine, liquor, dancing Sunday license. The license is not restricted. They wish to add outdoor alcohol service located at 9325 Fort Smallwood Road, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122. Gentlemen, I hate to ask you to do this. If you could stand up for me and raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And, sir, if we could begin with you with your name and address for the record, please.
William Dow, 8343 Seymour Street, Pasadena, 21122.
Thank you.
James Goss Sr., 7825 Outing Avenue, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Thank you.
John I. Coles Jr., 344 Sturton's Lane, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen?
Well, I would imagine that the primary concern of the board when issuing a outdoor service license would be noise and whatever impact it may have on the neighborhood. Hopefully, we can allay those concerns here with a couple points. Number one, our club is 87 years old. We've been operating on our current property in Anne Arundel County since the late 60s with no prior issues. We are basically, our MO is, our ages range from whatever all the way up to we have members in their 90s. I would say the average age is probably 55, thereabouts. And we're not into wild parties or loud music. Our MO is kind of sitting around watching sports, sharing a few beers, and telling lies to one another. So number two is, of the 600 plus licenses in Anne Arundel, we probably have the most remote one in the county. And if we're not, we're in the top 3. We sit on 40 acres of wooded acres. We're about 2,000 feet from the only road that leads to the property, and that's at the dead end of that. Our nearest neighbor is 2,000 feet approximately, and we've always had a very good relationship with them. Fort Smallwood Park is adjacent to us, and the entrance is about a half a mile from our property and probably close to a mile to the center of it. And then the fourth side is the Chesapeake Bay. I'd also say that, an outdoor service application or license is, for us, is very much a misnomer. What we're really looking to do is have outdoor consumption for the most part, and I'll explain that later. Our members, we don't have any permanent structure outside, nor do we want one. Our members and their guests would still be required to come inside to purchase their drinks, and if it's a nice day, they like to go out, sit on picnic tables by the water, listen to a ball game, radio, shoot the breeze, and just relax that way. Now, that said, we do have 3 larger events a year: a spring bull roast, a summer party, and a fall crab feast. And for those, we would set up a portable station outside from which we would only serve beer. And that's only to take some of the pressure off the inside bar. And it's only those parties last about 5 hours. So we're really, and up till now, we've been filing the one-day special event to cover those. So really, this license would, from a service standpoint, would only really apply for us for about 15 hours a year. So hopefully that, helps address any concerns the board has. I do have if you care to see it, a Google map view of our property to show you how secluded it is. But beyond that, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Thank you. Very well done. I am familiar with the property, location as well as access to it, which gives me a little bit of enlightenment as to what you're talking about. And with that, I'm going to also mention the fact that you do have some trailers on there, I believe, correct?
We have,
and those are members' trailers only?
Yeah, for storage.
For storage purposes.
But only members.
Okay, very good. I personally, knowing the size of it and the surroundings and so forth, I really don't have any questions as to the outdoor service, with the exception of one thing you mentioned about the 3 affairs occasionally. Serving beer outside, it would not be a problem with the health department, nor would it be with us if we grant that. But you cannot mix any kind of drinks outside. Any mixed drinks have to be done inside, and that's a health department rule and regulation. So please keep that in mind if you decide you want to open up an outdoor, access to alcohol. I don't have any further questions.
Commissioners?
No question.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I rule?
I appreciate what we hope you're about to say.
By the way, this is one of the best prepared applications I've seen in a long time. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And everything we submitted in there is still correct and current.
Well, very, very, very well done. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept the add-on for outdoor service. Okay, looking for a second?
A second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good night. Thank you for
very
being
much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for being patient with Mr. Bittner.
Okay, our final case of the evening is Kitchen Classifieds Cafe, Kitchen Classifieds LLC, Shannon Brown, member. Inspector Scott Harmon. This is a new license located at 14 North Crane Highway, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. It's for a Class H restaurant, beer, wine, liquor, and Sunday license. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table, remain standing, and if you could, raise your right hand for me, please. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And sir, we could begin with you with your name and address for the record.
Clarence Jones, 3202 Meadow Valley Drive, Harford County, Maryland, 21009. I'm the accountant for Kitchen Classifieds.
Thank you.
Shannon Wheeler, 8240 Shady Nook Court, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
turn it over to licensee or prospective licensee.
Hi. So we are applying for a new license, a Class H beer, wine, liquor with Sunday sales. We've been open now for about 2 years, roughly. We've been in business a little bit longer than that because we started as a catering company first. Initially, we opened the cafe. It's kind of a small family-owned business. Super cute, fun for people to come and enjoy some really delicious soul food, if I do say so myself. But one of the biggest requests that we get is people wanting to be able to consume alcohol or mimosas on Sundays because we do brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. When they find out we don't sell alcohol, they typically leave, or sometimes if they're really just wanting to support us, they'll stay and eat. And so we just want to be able to, obviously indulge in these things, participate with the community, and really just be able to provide a little bit extra revenue for ourselves, jobs for the community, et cetera.
Okay, very good.
Sir, did you have anything to add to the testimony?
No, sir. I'm just here in support of Kitchen Classified. I help with the application. I'm a board certified accountant in Maryland, in case you had any questions. I'm just here from Harford County in support because they run a really good restaurant. It's very conservative. It's clean. No issues whatsoever. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, any questions?
A couple of quick questions, if I may. I am familiar with the location. I go by it quite often. Do you have or do you plan on having a bar inside?
We do not currently have a bar. We do not plan currently to have a bar either. We did check with the health department, and they did let us know of those regulations and things of that nature if we wanted to go about building a bar, and obviously getting permission from the board here as well. But at this time, no.
Yeah, but that was the right answer.
Oh. I read the regulations, so I'm pretty familiar.
You did good. I also know you have a little piece of the property behind your place that could be used for outdoor service. Is there any intention to do that?
I don't know if you've looked back there lately, but no. Right now, when you walk out the back door, you'll find our grease receptacles, our propane tank, and a garbage can.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone wants to eat anywhere near that.
Again, the last question that I have for you, Mr. Brown, is where do you plan on storing the alcohol or keeping it while you're open?
Yep, so we do have 2 separate storage areas. They both open with a lock and key that is provided by myself, and there are 2 managers that are on our management agreement. They also have access to that area. We don't allow access for any just server or any of our hosts to be able to access that. They have to come through a manager to get to that, and that will be under lock and key during the appropriate hours as well as during business hours as well, unless they need something, in which case they would have to come and find one of us to get it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Commissioners?
Yes, I have a question in reference to your hours.
Yes, sir. Currently, we are asking for the hours. We're open from 12 to 8. We do want to be able to extend it a little bit longer, like I said, with the approval here today, that we'd be able to stay open till about 11, especially during the weekend hours. Don't plan on selling alcohol past that point. Obviously, you do your last call about 45 minutes before you close, and then everybody out the door because we all want to go home. And honestly, where we're located, and you're familiar, it's not a super huge party area. It's more like I came here specifically to eat, and then I'm going to go elsewhere.
Okay. You have a question? So if we were to make a motion to approve this, and we were to say your hours would be between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m., that would be...
That's perfectly fine with us, yes.
Good for you? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, with no other further questions, if you have something else you'd like to say before I rule?
Just thank you guys for indulging me today. I really appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you for putting on a good case. Mr. Hurdle's looking out for you.
Yeah.
He was wondering if you were planning on, are you doing brunches? Mm-hmm. So the 11 a.m. would cover that time period for your brunches?
Yeah, so 11 a.m. we open on Sunday. So we open 11 a.m. Sunday, and right now we're closing at 4, but with the extension of these hours, we'll be able to open a little later. On Saturday, is the only 2 days we do brunch. Saturday, currently, we open at 12, so we would basically push that to 11 to 11.
Okay, so those hours would work for you?
They work perfectly fine with it.
Mr. Hurdle.
I don't want no smoke from my husband. He said we got to go home, so y'all are fine.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that, that we accept this new license. I'm looking for a second.
Second motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
guys.
Lots of luck.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sirs.
Okay, I believe that's the last case. The Anne Arundel County Liquor Board hearing for March 25th is now closed. Thank you all. Good night.